I want to talk about those couple of years of research because you did something relatively unique there, where you obviously identified a problem, or the way I like to think about it, like you identified a very large and interesting problem space. You had a very clear idea of what you wanted to do or where you needed to move the needle in order to change some of the outcomes. But then you went through this process of like an exhaustive list of the different ways you could solve the problem and trying to eliminate them. Talk about that and kind of why you landed on the approach that you landed on with Ezra.
Yeah, so I actually, Ezra in the current iteration was the 12th idea or iteration of how you could go about screening for cancer. And after setting on this as the problem, I basically went through all of the different ways in which you could attack the problem. And I had some crazy ideas like, DNA-based nanobots that you'd put in the bloodstream that would kind of beam data to a Bluetooth device and whatnot.
I mean, that sounds fascinating for like 2040,
It is.
2050.
And I actually met with a couple of scientists who were working on DNA based nanobots and concluded very quickly that the technology is way too early to be able to use it today. And really, my goal or one of my criteria for choosing a solution was it has to be something that can be used today, where with technology, you could make it better and more accessible. And so I cycled through about a dozen ideas, and then actually on my honeymoon, this is in December of 2016, I was reading a paper that was comparing MRI scans with other types of imaging, such as CT scans, ultrasound, and so on, in terms of the sensitivity and specificity for detecting cancer early. And he was concluding overwhelmingly that MRI has higher sensitivity, higher specificity, and on top of that, it doesn't expose you to ionizing radiation. So settled on MRI as one of the solutions that you could apply to detect cancer early. However, MRI has a big issue, which is it uses magnetic resonance of the protons in the water of your body to create internal images of the body. And because it uses magnetic resonance, it's very noisy. And so to do an MRI scan, you generally need to do the same scan multiple times because signal will always be the same, noise will always be random. And by doing it multiple times, you can average out the noise, the randomness of the noise. And so with my computer science hat on, I was like, well, we can probably create machine learning models that identify what noise looks like and remove that noise without having to do the scan multiple times. So decided that MRI can be applied to this, built a prototype initially focused on prostate cancer screening using MRI, launched that. It was very successful. And then we launched our full body MRI in 2019. And we've since scanned a few thousand people and found potential cancer in 13% of our members. Almost every week we find something for members right now.
Wow. I mean, that's amazing outcome, just even the size of that already with the number of patients that you're treating, a number of customers that you're treating. So, just to try to parrot that back, because it is a lot to wrap your head around, as I had an initial conversation with you and then I was preparing for this, there's a lot here. So just to kind of parrot it back, Ezra you're focused on cancer screening, cancer detection early. You're trying to bring down the cost and obviously increase the accessibility, kind of cost is a major barrier to accessibility. And then you're taking an existing technology that's MRI, and then you're kind of adding on to that, obviously, a software layer that's AI using a lot of machine learning, and you're using that to effectively, I'm guessing, up-res the imagery in some regards or strip out some of the noise.
Yeah, so we actually apply AI to all of the spectrum of screening. So there are three big cost centers to getting screened with a full body MRI. There is the scan itself, there is the radiology interpretation, and there is the report generation for the person to actually understand what the interpretation means. And we actually, at Ezra, use AI across that entire spectrum. Make the MRI scan faster, make the interpretation faster, and make the report generation faster. In our case, the report generation is actually automated. We take radiology reports and we automatically, using AI, turn them into Ezra reports that then get reviewed by a medical provider and sent to members. So our thinking is that machine learning can be used to decrease all of the cost centers, for all the cost centers, in order to make our scan more affordable and then pass all of those cost savings to consumers.